and normally a sexy husky voice. So does the mask make it harder to understand me? And I want a response before I go on from those who are already on the live so that I can be guided. Yeah? This weekend, 2 events occurred in Trinidad and Tobago. What has been referred to disrespectfully as the Zesafet, good night sir, as the Zesafet. And it's too easy to disrespect poor people in this country. It's too easy, all our culture. To the people who disrespecting that, there was a time when people used to disrespect Calypso. There was a time people used to disrespect soca. There was a time people used to disrespect steel band and limbo and laugh at the whole culture and demonize it. So this Zesa culture, that's their culture. Elvis Presley was banned from being filmed below the waist because he was simulating sexual gyrations at a time when the world wanted to have more morals. So to be judging the People Party, I want to say to you as somebody, I used to be in the nightclub business, and I have seen the biggest shots when they think that they behind closed doors. When everybody drinking, take it from me, they have the same capacity. In the nightclub business, we used to have a saying, everybody is an asshole, just add water. Just add alcohol. So that gives you an idea of the point that everybody who drinks gets on a certain way. Let's move forward from there. I need to take the mask off to make that point. Let's go forward from there. This weekend, that event occurred. Now, I want to thank those whose job it is in national security to monitor and block my transmissions. You all are doing a fantastic job. To the rest of you watching, you have the ability to break it. If you share it, share my videos as much as possible. Right after the elections, Trinidadians saw that my average video, if I did a video about what I was eating for lunch, got 50 and 100,000 views and 18 and 20,000 people viewing at one time. What goes on? I dropped my mask. What goes on now is that it's being blocked. This transmission, believe it or not, don't tell me about VPNs, don't tell me about hidden SIMs. We've tried everything. They're very good, and by the time we go one way, they follow us down that path. Your job is to share this video long after the video has been seen. Share it. We try to keep these into a certain amount of time so we can send it viral on WhatsApp and get past the Facebook block. Anyway, so let's get to this point. The Commissioner of Police, Gary Griffith, has been put in a position where he has to explain to the public that a law exists that allows his police officers to go into public areas where people are gathering more than 10 people and arrest them and charge them under the COVID regulations. Now, to say that no law exists for you to do that on private property when this building exists. This building, and I want you to understand the power of this building, because there are people who sit in this building. There are people who are elected to office in this building that don't know what I'm about to tell you. All 41 members of Parliament tomorrow could meet tomorrow and start a brand new constitution if all 41 agree. If all 41 agree, they could write a law saying that from Thursday, all Trinidadians have to walk on their head and on their hands. And we have no choice, so we'll get arrested because that's the law. That's the law, and it wouldn't be in the face of the Constitution because we write a new Constitution. All Trinis must walk on their hands and their knees, and that'll be a law, the new Constitution, because the Constitution is the supreme law. It is the owner's manual of Trinidad and Tobago. And if you could understand the power of this building, you would understand what I'm trying to say. The 41 of them that sit in this building that you've sent here to talk, they have power to write law that governs the operation of Trinidad and Tobago. Why don't they write proper law? I don't know. It's either they're incompetent or they're deliberately incompetent. At some point, we will get a proper government into this building. At some point, we will get a proper parliament of good and decent, intelligent, caring, compassionate, civic-minded, patriotic, critical thinking Trinidadians and Tobagonians. And the day that happens, we will then be able to go and pull out all of the laws that do not work and throw them away. Repeal them, abolish them, amend them. But the 41 people who sit in this parliament, and all 41 are equal, all, they just give their support to Keith Rowley and he has the majority, he forms the government. The rest of them give their support to Kamala, she has the second majority, she leads the opposition. That's how it works. And it's simply that. But all 41 of them could show up here tomorrow and write any law. And they could write over a whole new constitution. They could decide here tomorrow that we will never have the Privy Council as our court of appeal again. We're no longer in the Commonwealth. We no longer want to have anything to do with Britain. We are independent planet, independent island on this planet, 2 islands on this planet. They could do that. That's the power of this building. They don't have to ask nobody permission. Nobody. They could do that tomorrow, ratify it the next day, get the president who said to me when I asked her 3 times to postpone the elections that were going to spike the COVID cases. She said to me, I can't, I don't have any authority at all. It has to happen in this building. Because once this building writes it as a law, it gets sent to her. And she has no choice but to pass it into law. That's her job, rubber stamp. That's what it is, president. And that's Trinidad and Tobago. And I want you to understand all of that. Because I want to come back to this. You cannot tell me that since March we're dealing with COVID-19. That since March you're doing lockdowns. That since March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, we're doing this almost a full year now. You're trying to tell me this house, well, a version of it sat on the waterfront. I remember when we led a march against Section 34 and we put about 50,000 people on these streets and end up on the Brian Lara Promenade with a sea of humanity to tell Kamala and Ram Logan writing a law to free financiers is wrong. That didn't depend on anybody else. That was people power. The next day, they come in here hurriedly and wrote a law that abolished that law. In hours, a law, Section 34, that was part of the Indictable Proceedings Act, good night, that took months and years. You can't come close to me, I'm doing a live video now. That took months and years to make as a law and to proclaim, was another law, was written, agreed upon, sent to the president, proclaimed within 24 hours. So they demonstrated that they have the ability. They demonstrated that when they need to, they could. So why haven't we written a proper law? Why is it that we want to be able to denigrate and disrespect one sector of society and have another sector of society partying at will? Is it that COVID-19 is nonsense? Because we need to know. Now, I want to come to the Minister of Health, you know. Because when I left to come here to do this video, I read an article in the media of an interview with the Minister of Health today. And the reason this video is named More Lies is because of what he said today. This is what, unbelievably, Terence D. Alsing told the country today. And I am surprised that I am the only person here. 1 million people should be. 1 million Trinidadians should be here tonight and be in total dismay. Terence D. Alsing told the nation another law is coming. A law is coming to deal with private property. That's the first thing he said. A law is coming to deal with private property. It sounded rational when he said it. Then he went on to say that a government minister was at the wedding in Valsayn and that he knew enough that the person was going to the wedding in Valsayn, that he advised them not to? Did he advise the commissioner of police to set up roadblocks and turn people away like we were doing during the lockdown? No, he didn't advise the commissioner of police to do that. He advised the government minister, this is his words, he advised him not to go. Then he said, to those who think that we cannot right now put an end to events on private property under the existing law, this is what the man said. Under the existing law, if we could prove that it is an imminent threat. Now, I want to tell you, an imminent threat is the premise of the whole COVID-19 regulations. I just had conversations with the police officers in this building. I am the only person in the road. There is nobody else near me. Anytime anybody, a guy, this street is at least 25 feet wide. It's 3 lanes and a lane had to be at least 10 feet. It's about 30 feet wide. He stepped off the pavement to come and I said, don't come near me. I did a live video, but I didn't want to tell him don't come near me because I'm not wearing a mask. Because I am in the street by myself. There's nobody around. It's just me. But the officers had to tell me that, Mr. Alexander, we're not sure, we're not clear, but maybe you should be wearing a mask. Who can I infect? Who could infect me? Nobody. And that is the insanity of the law. But come back to this. Terence Dial Singh said that under imminent threat, the police could go into a private property and mash up the line, end the party, arrest the minister who was there. What is the imminent threat of COVID-19? That if you are infected and I am infected, or one of us could be infected, wear a barrier. Put a barrier on your face so that you don't infect me or I don't infect you. The odds increase exponentially as we add more people to our circle. Stay 6 feet apart. Don't whine on each other. Don't dance with each other. Don't congratulate the bride and the groom. Don't kiss mommy and tanty. And hey, where you been, uncle? I ain't see you a long time. As we do in our wedding. Don't do it. So that's what the COVID-19 regulation is predicated on. That wherever 2 people are, the chances of one infecting the other is great if they've been exposed. And they went to 5 people and then they got to 10 people. 10 people now is the number I ask. Why the magic number 10? They say because with 10 people, it's easy to contact trace. Well, I find that's hard to believe. Because contact tracing 10 people who leave each other and go in 10 different directions, each come into contact with numerous other people. So it becomes ridiculous. And the entire thing starting to sound like a farce. Terence Dial Singh said that he spoke to Minister Young, National Security Minister, who said, imminent threat. Imminent threat. How come the Commissioner of Police wasn't advised by the Attorney General? Imminent threat in Valsayn. The Minister of Health says that there is another wedding being planned in Valsayn for this weekend. 300 persons invited. He said that. Mr. Minister, why is that not an imminent threat? And why is, if it is possible, to stop events that pose an imminent threat to the rest of the wider society, why isn't that law being used? More importantly, if there is already a means, because after this video, I literally wish, listen, I respect him too much to do it. If I call Gary Griffith, he might answer. and I don't want to surprise him, but I'm going to call him after I just got that imminent threat information. And I want Gary Griffith, Commissioner of Police, to tell me, because Gary said to me very clear. He said, Philip, as long as I am Commissioner of Police, my job is not to interpret law. My job is to enforce the law. Regardless of the law. That's okay. It said trying to reconnect. I apologize for the delay. Those of you watching. The Commissioner of Police said to me that his job is to enforce the law. Whatever law this house behind me, what they call the law, his job as Commissioner of Police is to enforce that law across the road. Is the Hall of Justice. The Hall of Justice job is to interpret that law that they said, but they don't write law. This building writes law. The Minister of Health, who said a new law is coming, that he advised the minister who went to the wedding not to go, that he knows another wedding is coming this weekend in Valsayn and 300 persons invited, that imminent threat is enough justification to shut down last week's wedding. Why write a new law? Terence D'Alsing. If there is sufficient legislation that allows for the police to intervene and stop events in Bayside, DDI, Sinclair, Valsayn weddings, if there are sufficient legislation under the existing law to quote you imminent threat, if that exists, why write a new law? If that exists, why are we not enforcing imminent threat as a law? Why doesn't the Commissioner of Police not arrest the minister who was present at that wedding, who poses an imminent threat to society because of the hundreds of people he came into contact with that night who were not social distancing, who, besides the belly dancers, were not wearing masks? Why doesn't the Commissioner of Police make an example of that minister, because he poses an imminent threat to the entire country? Why doesn't the CMO contact trace every single person that that minister has been in touch with since that wedding and quarantine them all from captain to cook? Because he and now they pose an imminent threat. This building behind me is the seat of our democracy. This here, the seat of our democracy, it speaks for 1.4 million people. It exists because of 1.4 million people. According to the Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the people come before priest, poet, politician, and police. In Trinidad and Tobago, we have a situation where this democracy has been hijacked by a parliament that does not understand what it is doing, that is talking itself in circles and is using that circular reasoning to oppress the freedoms of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Each and every one of those zessers, that we want to call them, pose an imminent threat to society. Rightly so. If COVID-19 is real, and this is important, and social distancing is important, and no more than 10 is important, then rightly so, all of them pose an imminent threat to society, and you are to charge all of them. I agree. But if you do not charge all of the people who were at that wedding, whether it was private property, holy ground, or Moses' backyard, if you do not use Terence D'Alsing's imminent threat that he got from Minister Stuart Young, if that is a real law, if that is true, if Terence D. Alsing was not telling untruths again, as he tells some whoppers, if Terence D. Alsing was not telling untruths again, an imminent threat is real, then every single person in that wedding, bride, groom, bride mother, groom father, DJ, everybody, Ravi B, everybody, the police who was on private duty, everybody need to be quarantined, need to be contact traced, need to be charged, just like the people who went to the Censorship. And they need to be charged by summons, just like you're doing to the people from the Censorship. Because if you are not doing that, then you are making a mockery of this building. You are making a mockery of our democracy. If you do not do that, if you do not enforce the law even-handedly, if you do not save us the nonsense that this building cannot write an amendment in an hour tonight to include private residences that contain persons in numbers greater than 10, then this is not a real democracy. And all the people of Trinidad and Tobago are being taken for a ride. Speaking on behalf of all the good people of this country, including those 2 police officers who are on duty tonight, decent, good and decent people. All of the people who are stopped tonight just trying to set up to do this video took me an extra half hour because so many people wanted to just pull over and stop and give well wishes and to ask if they could be on the video too. Trinidadians are good and decent people. They deserve better than this. Gary Griffith is an honorable man. He is a man of integrity and I trust him. I am appealing to the Commissioner of Police now to either wave the same wand that the people of Valsain benefited from and let the Zessers go. Or if you're charging the Zessers, charge the entire wedding, including that minister. Charge them all under imminent threat and set an example for all to see that will cancel the Alsing's friend's wedding that coming next week in Valsain, that will cancel that, and it will send a message throughout the society that as long as COVID-19 remains an imminent threat to everybody in this country, then what is good for the Zessa, good for Valsain, DDI, Sinclair, Bayshore, Goodwood Park too. Mr. Commissioner of Police, expect a phone call. I am going to be calling you to have this conversation about imminent threat. I am appalled that I am quoting Stuart Young, because I believe Stuart Young is a lawyer like Dr. Pepper is a doctor. But I'll be quoting Stuart Young, who gave that information to our pharmaceutical sales rep, Minister of Health, who said to the media, who published it in whole, that there is a thing called imminent threat that gives the police the authority to go into a private property and stop an event that is a threat to society. If that is a fact, and we don't know it, and we don't use it, but we're locking up these Zessers, that can't be right by no stretch of the imagination.